Thank you very much indeed, Chairman. Look, I suppose in the event of this very unjust bill going through the Dáil, I suppose every fisherman and fisherwoman will have the right to appeal their conviction, especially if they are in the right. And, you know, as I said, there recently off of Castletownbere, the near ramming incident that I asked the Minister about a while ago, I didn't get any reply on it yet to see that the Spanish trawler was arrested and brought to justice like it should be. But in this situation, if a fisherman ends up with penalty points and he feels it's not justified and he feels he's not guilty, and even with the system we're putting in place is putting everything up against him, no matter what it is, what's going to be the fee for that fisherman to appeal this conviction? I strongly feel that there should be nothing more than €25 fee as an appeal, because at the discretion of the Minister, that could run into thousands and put it out of the reach of already struggling fishermen who are hard pressed at this present time without another burden on their back. You can well imagine if you feel you're wronged and you'll do everything in your power to clear your name, even though it looks to me, no matter what, in the way the system is written, and no matter what you'll do, you're damned here if you do and damned if you don't. You're still going to end up with your penalty points anyhow, one way or the other, clear or not clear. But there's one thing sure, surely you're not going to penalise them further in relation to handing them an unfair fee for those who want to appeal any decisions, any appeal that they want to make. So €25 is what I'm pushing, and I'm hoping the Minister and the TD go back to your constituencies, or go back to your colleagues in the rural constituencies where there's fishermen, or farmers too. Quite a lot of them are fishermen, and they won't be quite happy at all with your actions here today. So I'd appeal to at least take on board some of our amendments anyway, because we're here on behalf and because of the fishermen have asked us to be here to fight their cause for them. So €25 is the fee as far as I'm concerned. It should be. That's it. Thank you, Minister.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Chairperson. So listen, in relation to Amendment 11, it provides that a fee to appeal to the appeals officer shouldn't exceed €25. I think, Deputy, it's important not to be overly prescriptive and specify in the bill an exact amount in this regard. Any fee, I believe, that the Minister may determine in the future post-enactment would, I believe, be reasonable. Wouldn't be imposed for revenue-raising purposes, and would, of course, take into account all relevant factors as well, including the important matter of Master's ability to pay. To be prescriptive in the bill as to the quantum of any fee would, in my view, unnecessarily compromise the flexibility that the Minister of the day should have when determining what fee should apply. Also, to specify a maximum fee now in statute could mean that any sum specified could become outdated over time due to inflation, and so could require legislative amendment. So accordingly, I don't propose to accept this amendment. I think we've seen that in other elements of legislation as well. Actually, putting figures into primary legislation, which can be there for many years, is not really a most sensible way to go forward. And certainly, as you'll see, with anything I've done as Minister, I've been very proportionate in anything I've done, and I think the expectation would be on any Minister of the day to be proportionate and reasonable as well. Obviously, the appeal system has been put in place to facilitate access for fishers to be able to appeal. It's really important that happens. That's very much the spirit and purpose behind the overall bill. So putting any fee in there which would be prohibitive in that regard would simply would be totally counter to that, and wouldn't be appropriate. But I think we shouldn't be putting the figure in there. We should trust in the common sense and of the Minister of the day to ensure that the fee is proportionate, and not to be putting it into legislation, which, in order for it to be changed at any stage in the future, would have to go through a whole. We know the amount of time that is involved in bringing any primary legislation through the House, the many stages involved through both houses, the Shannon, etc. So listen, I think the sensible approach here is not to put the figure in, but to respect the fact that it's to be a low and a proportionate and a reasonable figure.
Thank you, Minister. I find this a bit astonishing, to be honest with you, to see fisheries bills going through, but you don't have a set fee in relation to people who want to appeal their conviction of penalty points. And surely, you know, you're saying you want to be reasonable. You couldn't be more reasonable than putting a figure of €25. And my worry is that while you might want to be reasonable, the next minister may not want to be reasonable and may want to punish him and more severely. So what I'm saying is, Minister, if you're going ahead with this bill here, surely be to God, you have a fee set in mind already. What is that fee? Is it going to be 1,000? Is it going to be 20,000? What you're saying reasonable? I think we couldn't be any more reasonable by putting this amendment forward, asking for a fee of €25. And if you're not agreeing to that, I shudder to think if it's going to be left to the decision making of the ministers in the coming years ahead, what fee is it going to end up in? Where is it going to end up? Is it going to be a kind of a stick to beat back the fisherman who wants to appeal? Because if the appeal is set at a rate, is set at a massive high figure, it'll discourage him from going forward. So I think this whole bill should be scrapped until you have a decision to make as to how much is the fisherman going to have to pay if he wants to appeal, which he has every right to appeal if he feels he's been wronged. And Irish fishermen and Irish fisherwomen have been punished long enough in this country by hidden paperwork and ministers going abroad and not fighting for their rights. Now we need to know right here, right now, what is the charge, Minister? That's all I'm asking. If you won't agree with the €25 fee, tell us what is the fee. You can't just say, we'll tell you later on when it happens. That's not good enough. We need answers here. This is an almost finished document here, as far as you're concerned.
Thanks, Chairperson. It's not. I don't propose to accept the amendment today, but I'll reflect on it before report stage.
Okay. At that stage, will we leave that? Did you want to press it, Deputy Collins? Or?
I'm still going to press it, yeah.
Okay. So those in favour of the amendment? Those against, say near. I think the question is lost. Okay.